My name is Naomi Hawthorne, and I was 38 the night my life turned into a blinking dot on a map. It started like nothing, like the kind of text you barely register because it belongs to your routine. Derek, staying at Ben's tonight, guy talk, a couple beers. Don't wait up. I was on the couch in soft TV light, eating leftover pizza off a paper towel because I didn't feel like dirtying a plate. Our house was quiet in that satisfied way. Dishwasher humming, heat clicking on, the dog stretched across my feet like a warm anchor. I texted back, "Me, have fun." And I meant it. I even felt a flicker of relief. Derek and I had been together 9 years. We weren't married. He liked to call it not needing paperwork to prove love, but we lived like we were. Shared bills, shared a house, shared a joint account for household expenses because it was simpler. He'd insisted on location sharing last month after binging some true crime podcast. He'd shown me the app with this earnest intensity, thumb hovering over the toggle like he was doing something protective. Just in case something happens. To either of us, he'd said. I wasn't suspicious. Not yet. I was just bored an hour later, and boredom makes you do stupid little things. Scroll, refresh, tap. So I opened the location app. The dot that was supposed to be Derek wasn't anywhere near Ben's place. It wasn't even in the city. It sat in the middle of nowhere, near a lake, about 200 miles away. At first, my brain refused to translate it. It offered up the gentlest explanation, like a hand trying to cover your eyes before the horror. It's a glitch. I refreshed. The dot blinked, reloaded, and settled right back into the same spot, like it had dug in and decided to live there. My throat went dry. I told myself to laugh, to be the kind of woman who doesn't jump to conclusions, the kind of woman who trusts. But trust doesn't erase data. So I opened the credit card app, the one tied to our shared household card. Derek called it our adulting card. Groceries, gas, home repairs, the quiet machine that ran our life. My eyes tracked down the recent charges, and I felt something inside me start to sink. Slowly at first, then all at once. Forfern, Lakeshore Cottage Rentals. Posted yesterday. My mouth went numb. Another charge beneath it. $195, the Pine and Ember. Posted 2 hours ago. I stared at the numbers until they stopped being numbers and became images. A reservation confirmation, a hostess smiling, glasses clinking, someone leaning across a candlelit table as if there was nothing to fear. My hands were cold, my heart was loud. I did the thing I wish I hadn't done. The thing that takes a suspicion and turns it into a scene you can't unsee. I opened Instagram. Not Derek's. Her. Derek's personal trainer, Sloane Kincaid. The woman who'd been fixing his posture for the last year. The one he talked about too casually, too often, like a name he enjoyed rolling around in his mouth. Sloane had posted a story a few hours earlier, a sunset spilling orange light across water, a dock disappearing into mist. A location tag sat cleanly on the bottom. It matched the dot. I think I sat there for 10 minutes without moving. No crying, no screaming, no dramatic gasp. Just processing. There's a moment betrayal gives you. This thin, sharp moment where your heart wants to explode, but your brain goes very quiet, like it's stepping into a control room. And then something in me went cold and logical. If Derek wanted to gamble with my life, he was going to learn I didn't play sloppy. I grabbed my laptop. Not to message him, not to call him. I Googled divorce lawyers. Even though we weren't married, the house was in both our names. The accounts were tangled, and Derek had built his whole comfort on the assumption I'd be too emotional to be effective. I found an attorney with strong reviews, filled out a consultation request. Then I took screenshots of everything. His text, the location dot, the credit card charges, Sloane's story. I emailed them to myself, twice. Like redundancy could protect me from the way my own mind might try to rewrite reality tomorrow. I packed a bag with the kind of precision I use when I'm traveling for work. Underwear, toiletries, a sweatshirt, charger. Then, because I could already hear the future arguments forming, I grabbed our mortgage folder from the drawer and slipped it into my tote. Before I left, I looked at the couch where I'd been sitting. The paper towel with pizza grease. The remote. The dog lifting his head, tail thumping once, trusting. I bent down, scratched behind his ears, and whispered, "I'll be back." The drive was 4 hours of darkness and highway lights. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my wrists hurt. My mind kept trying to offer me exits. Maybe Ben borrowed his phone. Maybe Derek surprised you with a weekend getaway. Maybe you're overreacting. But the credit card charge didn't care about my denial. The location dot didn't care about my hope. Halfway there, I stopped at a 24-hour print shop. I sent the files to the kiosk and watched the pages slide out. Evidence made physical, warm from the printer, like the truth had a temperature. It cost me $35. $35 to confirm my life was a lie. I reached the lake area around 1 o'clock a.m. The road curved through trees, and then I saw it. A cottage tucked back from the water, a porch light burning. 2 cars in the gravel drive. Derek's. And beside it, a sleek sports car that screamed expensive and impulsive. The kind of car you buy when you want the world to think you're untouchable. I took photos, wide angles, license plates, the front door. The windows lit from inside like a little stage. Then I did the part of me that Derek never truly understood. The part that can be hurt and still be surgical. I called the rental company's emergency line. A man answered, sleepy, cautious. "Hi," I said, voice steady. "I need to report fraudulent use of my credit card. Someone rented a cottage without my authorization." He hesitated. "Ma'am, if it's a joint card—" "I'm the primary holder," I cut in. "I did not authorize that charge. I need it canceled, and I need the guests removed." Silence stretched, heavy with the implication of what I was asking him to do at 1 a.m. Finally, he cleared his throat. "We can cancel, but there's no refund, and the guests will have to vacate immediately." My pulse didn't speed up, it slowed. "Perfect," I said. I hung up and waited in my car, parked down the road where the trees swallowed me. About 20 minutes later, the porch light flickered brighter. Movement inside. The front door opened. Derek stepped out first, annoyed, wearing that posture he uses when he thinks he can talk his way out of anything. Then, Sloane appeared behind him in a bathrobe, hair loose, bare legs visible in the porch light like a signature. They were arguing with someone, probably the property manager, voices tight, offended, like they were the victims of inconvenience. I opened my door and stepped out. The gravel crunched under my shoes, and the sound felt enormous in the quiet night. I walked into the spill of porch light. Derek turned and froze mid-sentence like his body had been unplugged. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. I let the silence sit between us, thick and humiliating. Then I smiled, small, calm, terrifying. "Hey, babe," I said, my voice almost gentle. I tilted my head, looking past him at Sloane, at the robe, at the scene they hadn't expected to share. "How's Guy talk?" Derek's eyes darted, left, right, like he was looking for the version of this night where I didn't exist. Sloane tightened the robe around herself, chin lifting in a defensive little angle, as if she could posture her way out of being caught half-naked behind my boyfriend at a cottage 200 miles from home. The property manager, a middle-aged man with a clipboard and the tired, practiced neutrality of someone who'd seen every variety of human mess, cleared his throat. "Sir, ma'am," he said, not looking at any of us for too long, "your reservation has been canceled. You'll need to vacate the property immediately." Derek blinked. "What? No, there's a mistake. We paid—" I stepped forward one more pace, letting the porch light hit my face fully. "No mistake," I said. "I canceled it." His throat bobbed. "Naomi." Sloane moved like she was about to speak, like she was about to offer some pre-packaged explanation polished in the gym mirror. Derek reached a hand out toward me, palm open in that fake peace gesture people use when they're about to lie. "Look," he started, "we can explain." I didn't look at Sloane. I didn't look at him, either, at least not right away. I looked at the property manager. "I'm sorry you're dealing with this," I said, and I meant it. "Is there anything you need from me to confirm the cancellation?" His relief was visible, a sane person, an adult. "No, ma'am," he said quickly. "We're all set. They have to leave." "Great." Then I turned my eyes to Derek, and it hit him, really hit him, how calm I was. People always expect rage, tears, a scene they can use against you later. What they don't expect is the quiet kind of certainty, the kind that doesn't negotiate. "I have screenshots of everything," I said, and my voice didn't shake. "Your location, the credit card charges, the reservation, the restaurant, Sloane's Instagram story, and your text lying to me." Derek flinched at the word lying like it physically hurt. "It's not," he began. "It is," I interrupted, still calm. "And I'm not here for a conversation." Sloane's eyes narrowed, and that was the first real emotion she showed. Anger. Like I was the intrusion. Derek tried again, desperate now. "Naomi, please, this isn't what it looks like." I held up the printed pages, evidence warm from the print shop earlier, now bent slightly from my grip. "Do you know what the funniest part is?" I asked, soft. "I didn't even check your location because I suspected you. I checked because I was bored." His face drained. "Tomorrow morning," I continued, "I have a legal consultation. After that, everything goes through lawyers." His mouth opened, and for a second I saw the old Derek, the one who could charm his way through difficult talks. The one who could make me feel like I was overreacting, like I was too intense, too rigid, too much. But charm requires room to breathe. I wasn't giving him any. "Naomi," he said again, quieter, "you're going to ruin everything." I stared at him. "No," I said, "you did." Sloane finally spoke, voice sharp. "He told me you two were basically done." I looked at her then, really looked, and saw the kind of confidence that only comes from being fed a story where you're the hero. "Of course he did," I said, almost kindly. "You should ask yourself why he still needed to lie tonight if that was true." Derek's jaw clenched. "Stop! Don't—" "Don't what?" I asked. "Don't say things out loud that make you look bad. Derek, you made yourself look bad. I'm just turning the lights on." The property manager shifted his weight, uncomfortable. He wanted this over. I did too. I took one last photo of the two cars side by side in the driveway, like a final punctuation mark. Then I stepped back. "Enjoy finding a hotel at 1 a.m, I said. Derek took a step toward me, panic breaking through. "Naomi, please, just talk to me. Please, we can fix this." Fix it. Like betrayal was a cracked tile you could grout and pretend you never saw. I didn't answer. I just walked back to my car. The moment my door shut, my hands started shaking so hard I had to sit there for 3 long breaths before I could turn the key. I drove away with the porch light shrinking behind me, and I didn't look back once, because if I did, I knew I'd see them standing together, a couple in the wreckage of my life. The drive home was 4 hours of darkness and adrenaline, my mind turning over the same images again and again, like it was trying to memorize them to protect me from future gaslighting. When I got home, it was nearly dawn. The sky was that washed-out gray that makes everything look like it's happening in a hospital. The dog bounded to the door, tail wagging, thrilled to see me, because animals don't understand betrayal. They just understand presence. I fed him, took him outside, and then, without showering, without sleeping, I sat at the kitchen table and waited for the lawyer's office to open. When the call finally came, I didn't launch into emotion. I said, "I have documentation." The attorney, Marianne Caldwell, crisp voice, no wasted words, listened, then said something that made my shoulders loosen for the first time all night. "Naomi," she said, "this is very clear. By noon, paperwork was in motion. Not divorce, because we hadn't married, but legal separation of shared property, finances, and residence. A formal line drawn through everything Derek thought he had access to by default. When I finally lay down that afternoon, it wasn't sleep that came first. It was the memory of his face on that porch, frozen, caught, like a man realizing the version of the story where he's innocent had just been canceled. 3 days later, Derek was served. Not at home. Not privately. At the gym. I didn't ask Marianne to do it that way. I didn't have to. She said, "Public service tends to reduce the 'I never got it' games." And I'll admit, somewhere inside the grief, a small cold part of me appreciated the symmetry. Derek called from a blocked number the second it happened. I didn't answer. He called again. I didn't answer. My phone lit up with texts from numbers I recognized and numbers I didn't. "Derek's sister, Rachel, what the hell is wrong with you? He says you're trying to destroy him." "A mutual friend, Naomi, just talk to him. This is extreme." Extreme. Like driving to a cottage with another woman and using our money wasn't. That evening, Derek showed up at the house. I watched him through the Ring camera, standing on my porch like he belonged there, like he had the right to demand access. His key slid into the lock. Turned. Stopped. He tried again, harder. Then the pounding started. "Naomi!" he yelled, voice cracking. "Open the door!" I didn't open it. I spoke through the camera, my voice coming out of the little speaker like a ghost. "You can pick up essentials tomorrow afternoon," I said. "Schedule it with the attorney." "You can't lock me out," he shouted. "This is my house too." "You left," I said simply. "You established yourself elsewhere." He choked on his own lie. I was gone for one night. One night, I repeated, 200 miles away, with your trainer, after lying to my face. That's not one night. That's a decision. His breathing was loud through the microphone. "You're doing this to punish me," he said. "No," I said. "I'm doing this because you're unsafe." That word hit him harder than anything else. Unsafe. Not dramatic, not emotional, not vindictive. Unsafe. He went quiet for a beat. Then he hissed, "Call the cops then. Let's see what they say." "I don't need to," I replied, "but you can. They'll explain it to you." And of course, because Derek never could stop once his pride was involved, he did. An hour later, 2 police officers stood on my porch. I met them outside with Marianne's documents printed neatly in a folder, my hair brushed, my voice calm. I showed them the filing. I showed them the date stamp on Derek's text. I showed them the evidence I'd already prepared, because competence is a habit. You don't suddenly develop it during a crisis. You either have it or you don't. The older officer glanced at Derek, who was standing in the driveway now, arms crossed, performing injured innocence, and then looked back at me. "Ma'am," he said, exhausted like this was the 5th domestic call of his night. "This is civil. He can't force entry during legal proceedings. He needs to handle it through attorneys." Derek's face turned red. "So she can just make me homeless?" "You've been staying elsewhere," the officer said. "You have somewhere to go." Derek started shouting about fairness, about my cruelty, about how I was emotionally unstable. I didn't say a word. I just stood there, still, letting him show the officers exactly who he was when he didn't get what he wanted. When the cops left, Derek stayed in the driveway and screamed after their car until his voice cracked. Then he drove off. I went inside and locked the door behind me. And for the first time since the dot on the map, I let myself feel it. Not the rage, the grief. Because the most brutal part wasn't what he did at that cottage. It was the sudden clarity that he'd been capable of it the whole time. And I'd just been loving the version of him who hadn't gotten caught yet. The call from the bank came the next morning while I was standing in the kitchen, staring at my coffee like it had personally betrayed me. "Ms. Hawthorne?" the woman asked, professional but cautious. "We flagged an attempted transfer from your joint account last night, $15,000 to a newly linked external account. Did you authorize that?" For a split second, my brain did something strange. It almost admired the audacity. "No," I said, "I absolutely did not." There was a pause. Keyboard clicks. "Would you like us to freeze the transaction?" "Yes," I said. "Freeze it, and remove Derek's access entirely. We're in the middle of legal separation, and this was an unauthorized attempt." Another pause, longer this time. "I'll need documentation." "I have it," I said. "You'll have it in 5 minutes." When I hung up, my hands were steady. That surprised me. A week ago, $15,000 disappearing would have sent me spiraling. But something had shifted. This wasn't shocking anymore. It was pattern recognition. I emailed the filings, the timeline, the proof. The bank confirmed the freeze by noon. By 12:07 p.m., my phone started vibrating like it was possessed. "Rachel, what did you do? Derek can't access any money." "Unknown number? You froze him out? That's messed up." "Mutual friend. Naomi. How is he supposed to survive?" "Survive." I stared at the word, then typed back to the first person who'd bothered to ask instead of accuse. "Me. He tried to transfer $15,000 without my consent. The bank stopped it." Silence. Then, "Rachel, he says it was his money." I actually laughed. Out loud. A sharp, humorless sound that startled the dog. Me. "We can discuss that in court." The messages kept coming. People who hadn't checked on me in years suddenly had opinions about my morality, about kindness, about forgiveness. No one asked why Derek felt entitled to empty an account after getting caught cheating. That answer made them uncomfortable. So they reframed it. I was cruel, I was cold, I was vindictive. I muted my phone. An hour later, it rang anyway. "Unknown number." I answered, already tired. "Naomi," a man said, familiar voice sliding into confidence. "Hey, it's..." "Sloan," I said flatly. "Let me guess. Derek gave you my number." A pause, then a scoff. "Wow, you're really something." I didn't respond. "Look," she continued, "you need to chill out. He's going through a really hard time because of you." "Because of me?" I leaned against the counter, the coffee now cold in my hand. "He's going through a hard time," I repeated. "Yeah," she said. "He's devastated. He didn't think you'd go nuclear like this." "Nuclear. Because I refused to fund my own betrayal." "You slept with my partner," I said calmly, "while he was in a relationship with me, using our money, and now you're calling to tell me to be reasonable." "It's not that simple," she snapped. "You don't know what he told me." "I know what he did," I replied, "and that's enough." She exhaled sharply. "He just needs some money to get on his feet. You freezing the account was a low blow." I closed my eyes. "Let me get this straight," I said. "You had sex with my partner, in a cottage I paid for, and now you want me to financially support him?" "He needs help," she insisted. "You're his partner." "No," I corrected. "I was." She scoffed again. "You're being bitter." I smiled, even though she couldn't see it. "Oh," I said lightly. "One more thing." "What?" "I filed a complaint with your gym's corporate office this morning." Silence. "Excuse me?" she said slowly. "Sleeping with clients violates your contract," I continued, "especially clients in active relationships. I sent them the photos, the timestamps, the location data, the financial trail. Her voice dropped. You did what? I thought you should know, I said. Have a good day, Sloan. I hung up before she could scream. 2 days later, I got confirmation. Termination for violation of professional conduct policies. That was the phrase. Clean, bloodless, final. When Derek found out, he lost his mind. My phone lit up with texts from numbers I didn't recognize. Burner apps, borrowed phones, desperation made digital. Derek, you got her fired? What the hell is wrong with you? Derek, this is psychotic. Derek, you ruined her life. I typed one response. Me. She violated company policy by sleeping with a client in a committed relationship. That's on her. All communication goes through lawyers. Then I blocked every number that tried to reach me. Marianne called that afternoon. You did exactly what you were supposed to, she said. And now it gets interesting. Define interesting. Financial discovery, she replied. We requested full disclosure, and something's off. 2 weeks later, she showed me the statement. Another account. Opened 2 years ago. Derek's name on it. My name nowhere near it. Small transfers. 200 here. 400 there. Nothing dramatic enough to notice unless you were looking for it. Total then 1830. I stared at the number until it blurred. He'd been siphoning money, I said quietly. Yes, Marianne said, without disclosure, without consent. I felt something inside me finally crack, not into rage, but into something colder. I trusted him, I said. Marianne nodded. That's usually how this works. At the next hearing, Derek's lawyer tried to call it personal savings. Marianne stood and said, it's marital funds moved without disclosure. That's dissipation of assets. The judge didn't even hesitate. All accounts will be disclosed, she said. That account is frozen effective immediately. Derek's face collapsed in real time. Afterward, he called me again from another number, voice raw, unhinged. You're taking everything, he said. I have nothing. You have exactly what you earned, I replied. Which, last I checked, is nothing. You quit your job 6 months ago. I worked on our relationship, he yelled. I took care of the house. You went to the gym, I said, and lied. He was still screaming when I hung up. That night, I sat alone in the living room, the house quiet in a way that no longer felt empty, just honest. I thought about the dot on the map, how it had blinked, stubborn and undeniable. And I realized something chillingly simple. Derek didn't fall apart when I caught him. He fell apart when I stopped protecting him from the consequences. The emergency hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning, the kind of gray, airless day where even the courthouse seems tired of people's excuses. Derek arrived with an entourage. His mother, Lynn Hawthorne, in black slacks and a pearl necklace, dressed like she was attending a funeral for her son's reputation. His sister Rachel flanked her, lips pressed tight, eyes already sharpened for battle. I came alone. Not because I didn't have support, because I didn't need an audience. Inside the courtroom, Derek sat hunched beside his lawyer, hands clasped like prayer might suddenly work, now that lying hadn't. When the judge called our case, his attorney stood first. He spoke smoothly, confidently, as if volume and vocabulary could rewrite time. Your Honor, he began, my client has been cruelly locked out of his shared residence without warning. He's been denied access to personal belongings, to funds, and to basic stability. Ms. Hawthorne has frozen accounts, changed locks, and effectively made him homeless. Marianne rose before he could finish. She didn't rush. She didn't interrupt. She waited until the judge nodded. Your Honor, Marianne said, placing a thick packet on the bench, my client's partner told her he was staying with a friend for guy talk. In reality, he was 200 miles away in a rented cottage with his personal trainer, paid for with joint funds. She flipped the packet open like a magician revealing cards. Here are the screenshots, the location data, the credit card charges, the Instagram post matching the timestamp. After being confronted, he voluntarily stayed at his mother's residence for 3 days. The judge looked at Derek. Is this accurate? She asked. Derek swallowed. His voice came out thin. I made a mistake. That wasn't the question, the judge said. Did you go to this cottage with another woman while telling your partner something else? Yes, he said, but I was confused. And did you remain at your mother's home afterward? I needed time to process. The judge nodded once. Motion denied, she said briskly. You establish residence elsewhere. File a proper motion if you're seeking property access. Next case. Just like that. Derek's lawyer tried to object. The judge shut him down with a raised hand and a look that said, don't test me. Outside the courtroom, Lynn exploded. You manipulated her, she hissed at me, stepping into my space. You twisted everything. I presented facts, I said evenly. Your son lied and got caught. Rachel jumped in. You've always been controlling. Derek told us how you tracked him, watched everything he did. I almost smiled. I found out by accident, I said. Thanks for confirming he's been painting me as the villain for a while. They shouted after me as I walked away, about cruelty, about karma, about how I'd pay for this. I didn't turn around. That afternoon, security called me at work. Ms. Hawthorne, the guard said, there's a woman in the lobby claiming to be your partner. She says it's an emergency. My stomach dropped anyway. Trauma has muscle memory. We're in legal separation, I said. There is no emergency. She says you have her medication, he added. Anxiety meds. I closed my eyes. I'll come down, I said, but keep her behind the desk. Derek stood there like a ghost of himself. Eyes red, face blotchy, clothes wrinkled like he'd slept in them. His confidence was gone, replaced by something frantic and pleading. I need my meds, he said the second he saw me. I'm having panic attacks. Text me the prescription info, I said calmly. I'll have it delivered to your mom's address. I need my clothes too, he said quickly. My stuff, my laptop. Make a list, I replied. Send it to Marianne. We'll schedule a supervised pickup. His voice cracked. Why are you being so heartless? Don't you care about me at all anymore? That was the moment, the one where I could have softened, where I could have said something gentle and familiar. Instead, exhaustion won. You spent 9 years with me, I said quietly. I worked 60-hour weeks so you could quit your job and find yourself. You cheated on me with someone barely 30. You lied. You used our money. And when you got caught, you tried to steal $15,000. I looked him straight in the eye. So no, I don't care about you anymore. I care about protecting myself from you. Security stepped forward as Derek started shouting about narcissism, about abuse, about how I was destroying him. They escorted him out. That night, Marianne called again. The gym's corporate investigation expanded, she said. Turns out Sloan did this before. 2 other married clients. Your complaint opened a whole file. I exhaled slowly. So she's done? Completely, Marianne said. Blacklisted. When Derek found out, he blamed me for ruining both their lives. I sent one final message. You ruined your own lives. I just stopped protecting you from the consequences. Then I blocked him everywhere. Marianne's advice was clear. Full no contact. You're winning. Don't give them ammunition. A month in, I was exhausted. Legal fees climbing, paperwork endless. But every time I thought about being reasonable, I saw him on that porch. Caught, exposed, standing behind a lie he thought I'd never challenge. No, I wasn't being cruel. I was being finished. 7 months after the night I drove to the lake, the divorce, what everyone still called it even though we'd never married, finally ended. By then, I was tired in a way sleep doesn't fix. The settlement process had been brutal. Derek contested everything, every account, every expense, every line item, like he could exhaust the truth into changing its mind. His lawyer filed motion after motion, requests for delays, objections that went nowhere but still cost me money to answer. Legal fees climbed past $10,000, then kept going. Finally, the judge had enough. A firm trial date was set. That was when reality reached Derek. Because Marianne explained to his lawyer, very calmly, what would happen if we went to trial. Every piece of evidence would become public record. The cottage, the hidden account, the attempted transfer, the trainer, the lies. 2 weeks before trial, the settlement offer came. We sat in a quiet conference room while Marianne walked me through it line by line. The house was sold. After the mortgage and fees, we each received about $82,000. Derek argued he deserved more, claimed he'd invested emotional labor into making it a home. The judge wasn't moved, especially not with that hidden $18,940 account sitting there like a receipt. That money was counted as an advance distribution, meaning Derek had already taken his share. It reduced what he received from everything else. Spousal support was next. Derek wanted $3,500 a month for 5 years. The judge gave him $100 a month for 18 months. Rehabilitative support, she said, to allow him time to gain employment skills. Derek cried when it was announced. Actually cried. Head in hands, shoulders shaking, like the world had betrayed him instead of the other way around. Cars were easy. Both were titled in my name. Derek wanted the newer one. He got the older sedan. Reliable, nothing flashy. I kept my truck. Retirement hurt. I lost about $38,000 from my accounts in the split. That's how the law works. Fair doesn't always feel fair. The dog, my dog, was the one thing I refused to negotiate. I brought adoption papers, vet records, licenses, everything dated years before Derek ever entered my life. The judge looked at them once and said, "The dog stays with Ms. Hawthorne." Derek sobbed in court over that. His personal debt surfaced last. About $7,500 in credit cards I'd never seen, shopping, restaurants, who knows what else. The judge made him solely responsible. So yes, I lost money. Between retirement, legal fees, and support, it cost me more than I'd like to calculate. But I kept my dignity, my boundaries, my future. Afterward, the fallout for Derek was predictable. The trainer situation imploded fast. They tried to make it work after she got fired. Lasted about 5 weeks. Turns out passion fades when there's no money and no gym clout. He moved in with his mother. According to mutual friends, those who still talked, it was a disaster. Constant fighting. Lynn expected him to get a job. Derek expected to recover indefinitely. He did get a job eventually. Retail. 35, maybe 40,000 a year. The $100 I paid him nearly doubled his income, the only reason he was surviving. Most of his friends disappeared. Cheating publicly doesn't age well. The ones who defended him at first went quiet once the full story came out. The gym banned him too, not because of Sloan, but because he caused a scene after she was fired. Screaming at staff, throwing equipment. Security escorted him out and blacklisted him from the entire chain. As for me, I bought a smaller house. Nothing impressive, but it's mine. Mortgage is lower. The dog has a yard. The silence is peaceful instead of tense. Work promoted me a few months later. Funny how much energy you have when you're not carrying someone else's chaos. The raise was $12,000. I didn't celebrate. I just exhaled. I went to therapy. Took me a while to admit I needed it. Trust doesn't rebuild itself just because the paperwork ends. I started seeing someone new recently. Slowly, carefully. He knows the whole story. His reaction made me laugh. Wait, he said. He cheated, lied, tried to steal your money, and then played the victim, and people felt sorry for him? Some did, I said. He shook his head. That's wild. I like him. Derek tried reaching out once more, through a mutual friend. Said he wanted closure, wanted to apologize properly. I sent back one message. We're done. I don't need or want your apology. Move on. I haven't heard from him since. Looking back, would I do anything differently? Maybe I wouldn't have driven 4 hours in the middle of the night. I could have filed everything with the evidence I already had. But there was something about seeing it, about watching his face when the lie collapsed. That was closure. This was never about revenge. It was about refusing to be rewritten as the villain in someone else's story. About not funding betrayal. About boundaries that don't ask permission. He lost his relationship, his home, his financial security, his reputation, most of his friends. I didn't take those things from him. I just stopped shielding him from the consequences of his choices. The dot on the map was 7 months ago. The chapter is closed, and for the first time in a long time, I'm actually living my life.